Teetering on the edge of October, the Dodgers might be staring straight at a wild card showdown. Can this team survive it, or are we getting set up for heartbreak?
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Are the Dodgers really built to survive the wildcard round? Will the reinforcements coming off the injured list be the real difference makers or just false hope? And finally, what does Emmet Sheehan's return to the bullpen mean as the Dodgers get a little breather in the schedule? And it won't only be the injured guys coming back to the active roster. It's Travis. He's back with us today, and we got a lot to get into with the boys in blue.
Absolutely, we do, Harry. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner, so visit FanDuel, use the app today, and start planning your futures bets right now.
He's Travis Rogers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And we want to hear from you. We want you to be a part of the show. Hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-3-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. You can either leave us a voicemail or a text, and you might be featured in our show. Before we dive deep into our topics, Travis, we started scoreboard watching a week ago to start our shows with seeing where the Dodgers are situated. And interestingly enough, on a day off, the Dodgers gained half a game against the Padres, who lost 4-3 against the Baltimore at Petco Park. So the division lead for Los Angeles, they're up 2.5 games. But when it comes to a top 2 spot in the National League, the Dodgers now trail the Phillies by 1.5 games after Philadelphia had a comeback win in Milwaukee on Monday. So at this moment, the Dodgers would be in the wild card round. Their opponent, if the season ended today, would be the New York Mets, who they played against the NLCS last season. Travis, what's your confidence level if the Dodgers end up playing in the wild card round, where if they win the division, they'd play the best of 3 series at home?
Well, keep in mind, it wasn't that long ago where we were talking about whether or not having the bye, being one of the top 2 seeds in your respective league, was a disadvantage, right? That we saw since this new format has come in the first couple of years, the higher seeds had got sent home, despite the fact that they were waiting around and didn't have to play in that first round. And then last year, of course, it changed a little bit. Last year, the Dodgers were the number 1 seed. They made the World Series. Last year, the Yankees were the number 1 seed. They made the World Series. And everybody kind of went, oh, yeah, maybe not having to win 14 games is harder than winning 11 games. So can they survive the wild card? Yes. Can they, go through, and would you rather be at home in that round? Of course. So winning the division is more important than being a wild card team. But I really do think that if the Dodgers could just snap their fingers and decide where they wanted to be, of course they'd rather miss it. It's just 11 wins is easier to get than 14 wins. The more games you play, the more variance there is, the more variables that come in to affect all these different things. Now, the good news is they are the one team in all of baseball that if, in fact, they do end up being in the wild card, and I like how you set it up, Harry, with the idea of who they're chasing. They're not just trying to hold the Padres off. They're trying to catch the Phillies. And I think that maybe catching the Phillies is equally as important, because while you'd rather be, skipped it all together, being at home, being away, all that other stuff. But here's the thing. The Dodgers are the one team that have enough starting pitching to survive the wild card round and then turn around and go right into a divisional series and still be lined up with your pitching. It almost doesn't matter. Let's say that the wild card round goes the full 3 games. Okay. So the Dodgers are going to throw their 3 guys out there. It really doesn't matter who you pick. Your next 2 guys that you're going to go into the divisional round with are still going to be really good pitchers, arguably number 1 guys, whether it's Glasnow or whether it's Ohtani or even Kershaw at this point. If he had to pitch and start one of those divisional games, it still puts them in a really good spot. You'd rather miss it if you could just decide, but if they do have to go through it, I don't think it's the end of the world.
Yeah, you brought up the Dodgers. They have the starting pitching depth that any team in baseball wished they had. But what worries me right now are the hitters for LA. They can send out their top of the rotation pitchers out there, but they've scored 3 runs or less 12 times in their last 29 games. That's 41% of their games since July 30th that they haven't surpassed 3 runs scored. So in this type of situation, you're pretty much asking for your pitcher to have as close to a perfect game as possible, because then all the pressure would be on them. And guess what? It's October. They already do have all the pressure in the world, so you're making it even worse for them. So that's the part that worries me. Seeing the hitters struggle the way that they have over the last month, then that if you go into October like that, it could be a long, well, I was going to say a long month, but no, it could be a very short month for the Dodgers.
It could be a quick half week. Yeah, if you don't score some runs, that's for sure. I still think that the Dodger offense, assuming that they're going to have most of their players back by the time that you get to October, assuming that Max Muncy is available, assuming that Tommy Edman is available, I think that the offense gets a lot better. And I know the everydayers know exactly what I'm going to say next, and that is Max Muncy is essential to what they're doing. Even a Max Muncy that maybe isn't at the best version of himself, the 35 home run Max Muncy, but simply having him in your lineup is a game changer, because not only is he an extra base hit factory, right? He's going to hit a bunch of home runs. He's going to hit some doubles. He sees a ton of pitches. He strikes out occasionally, and he's not going to hit for a super high average. But what he does do is he sees a lot of pitches. He turns that lineup over. He connects the front of the order with the back of the order and just makes that starting pitcher have to work a little bit harder. Throw Tommy Edman in there, and I know he hasn't had a great season, but we saw what he was able to do in the postseason last year. Maybe there's a little Kike magic coming in October. We always get a little Kike action there where he shows up and becomes a different player once we get in October. So the offense, I agree with you, Harry, has been the soft spot for them over the last month or so. I'm sure that you covered this last week while I was gone, but it's the offense has not been good, full stop, but it's the way they're playing that is the real concern to me. Starting pitching's been good. I do think the offense will be good when it's time to be good, but the bad habits that they've fallen into over the last couple of months, I don't know if you just snap your fingers and all of a sudden that stuff's gone, because they've played pretty crummy baseball for a couple of months.
Absolutely. And I mean, over the last 2 weeks, the Dodgers hitters have made guys like Kyle Freeland, Tanner Gordon, Nestor Cortez, Zach Gallen, and Eduardo Rodriguez look like Cy Young contenders, when in reality, all of them entered their matchups against LA with ERAs of over 5. And newsflash, you're going to be facing some actual Cy Young contenders in the playoffs. Every ace of your opponent's staff, they'll be lined up against you. So, I mean, that's where it becomes preoccupying for me if you end up being in the wild card round.
Yeah, maybe, but I really think too that the better the competition, the more they snap too. They have been really good when they have to be pretty good. Like we saw them sweep the Padres a month or so ago. We saw them go into San Diego with their backs against the wall and maybe getting that sweep right back. They go and they win the final game. They turn around, they sweep the Reds right away. Like every time they really have to dig down and find something, they've been able to do it. So I'm optimistic. I still think they're the team to beat. I don't think that they are as good as anybody thought that they were going to be. Coming into this season, we were talking about 100 wins in their sleep, maybe 110, maybe 115, and they're not that. They're sloppy. They make a lot. And what's weird is some of their more veteran guys, like Freddie Freeman, made a bad out on the bases the other night. Mookie Betts, I thought, did a bad job of helping Kike when he came in standing up the other night. I thought that they're just a lot of sloppy things, especially from veteran players that need to get cleaned up. I'm hopeful that they can. Look, you're going to see good pitching, but the other guys are going to have to face good pitching too. The Dodgers are good. They are not going to lose a pitching matchup, so they have an advantage there. The question is, can Ohtani and Betts and Freeman and Will Smith and all those guys be as good as they typically are when it matters the most? And historically, they have been.
Yeah, you can't be making those amateur hour mistakes in the big stage during a pennant race. So the Dodgers right now, they look like a team that might have to sweat out a wild card series in the position they're at. And honestly, that's a scary thought for Dodgers fans because let's be real, in a best of 3 series, anything can happen, especially after in August, they lost at least 2 games in a series to teams like St. Louis, the Angels, Colorado, the Padres, and Arizona. And out of these 5 teams, only one will more than likely be in the postseason, San Diego. And check these stats out. In 2022, road teams won 3 out of the 4 wildcard series, and Philadelphia actually made it to the World Series as a wildcard team. In 2023, road teams won 2 out of 4 wildcard series. Arizona and Texas both made it to the World Series, and the Rangers won the World Series. In 2024, the road teams won 3 out of 4 wildcard series, and the Mets made it to the NLCS. So that shows you that 8 out of the 12 road teams have made it through the wildcard round. Only 4 out of the 12 high seeds advanced into the NLDS. So, I mean, the real issue isn't just making the wild card, it's where they're actually built to get through it. And if you're asking me, the talent is there, but the margin for error in that round is razor thin.
It is. Just playing better will increase that margin a little bit. And I'm not saying I'm saying play smarter, play cleaner, play more Dodger baseball that we see. And I really do believe in the baseball gods. And I think that the Dodgers, and it wasn't all of them, but it was enough of them last year, kind of really taking a victory lap on the fact that the Yankees were as sloppy as they were in the postseason. And now fast forward a year or so, and the Dodgers are the ones that have played sloppy baseball for a long time. Now they can get back to hopefully what they are, but this has not been their best month or two. I'm hoping that, being in a pennant fight, being in a division fight, being in a wild card fight potentially will kind of wake some guys up because this has not been the team that anybody was hoping for.
100% agree. I mean, this team has to prove that they can bring consistency from the first pitch of October, not just when they get comfortable in a longer series. Next on Locked On Dodgers, starting tonight, LA will start getting important players back from the injured list. Now the question is, will they be able to help the team, or is it just false hope at this stage?
This episode of Locked On Dodgers is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I, we make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, hallelujah, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 30 seconds. I actually played a little Prize Picks last weekend. Ohio State and Texas took the under on passing yardages on both quarterbacks. The less than, boom, bet against old Arch Manning, and there you go. And the best part, even if one of your pisses mix, Prize Picks invented the flex play so you can still double your money. So what are you waiting for? Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer because right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if that $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, right? FanDuel is awesome because it fits however you like to play, however you like to bet. Player props, building a same game parlay, I love those, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. You see something, you know what? I know what's going to happen next. FanDuel can make it right there. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Of course, it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sunday afternoon. So, are you ready to play? If so, download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Go get it.
I have an important request for you. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. The link is right there on your screen if you're watching this video, or scan that QR code. If you're listening to our show, simply go to our show notes and the link can be found there as well. Thank you so much for helping us out. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Subscribe, smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. A bunch of guys are set to come back from the IL, and on paper, that sounds like a huge boost, like Ha-Seong Kim and Michael Kopech, who were added to the rosters, as now the rosters have expanded with the calendar turning to September. But the question is, are these reinforcements really the difference between a deep run or another October disappointment, Travis?
I think that they're incredibly important. I think that they are as important as it could possibly be if it wasn't one of your star players, right? Obviously, Ohtani and Betts and Freeman and Smith and, take your pick, Yamamoto, all of the star players, they got to be stars. But the way that you win in the postseason is by having options, that really present themselves in meaningful ways. Ha-Seong Kim is nothing but he's like a walking human option. You can play him everywhere in the field. You can play him in the outfield if you absolutely have to. So I think he's incredibly important. As far as Michael Kopech goes, we saw how important Kopech was last year in the postseason. They used him in a million different ways. They used him at the back end. They used him in the middle. They used him when the meat of the order was coming up. If that was in the fourth inning, then here comes Michael Kopech. If that's in the seventh inning and they haven't used him yet, here comes Michael Kopech. So he's incredibly important, especially when you look at the way that Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates have looked since they've come back. I'm not even sure Kirby Yates makes the team in the postseason at this point, the way that he's looked. He's pitching himself off of this postseason roster really, really quickly. I think you're going to have to roll Scott no matter what, because you just hope that he finds it at some point. But neither one of those guys have impressed. Trinan seems to be settling in a more effective way. We know what you're going to get from Vezia and Banda and Kasparius and those sorts of guys. So, you kind of have a little bit of an idea there. But if all of a sudden you could throw Kopech in there and have Kopech and Trinan and, God willing, cross your fingers, toes, and everything else you got that Tanner Scott figures some stuff out, I think that bullpen starts to come together a little bit, but yeah, having optionality down there. And Edman is another incredibly important one because he can do so many different things. He bats from both sides of the plate. That optionality in the playoffs is everything. How many times over the last couple of years have we seen Chris Taylor or Kike Hernandez? Miguel Rojas is optional too. There's just having more guys that can do more things. The Dodgers have built the strength of their team for years on guys that can do a lot of different stuff, and both of those guys can do a lot of different stuff.
So last week on Friday, I did an exercise on which 13 pitchers do I think the Dodgers are going to roll with into the postseason. All the everydayers, they know it. And I got some heat because I actually put Kirby Yates over Michael Kopech, because I looked at Kopech's stats since coming back in mid-August from his injury into OKC, the Comets, the AAA team, and including his last game. He had 3 earned runs, no hits allowed, but 3 walks, 1 hit batter. He hasn't been the automatic out, and he's been getting a lot of traffic on the bases. And I said, well, right now, the way that things stand, with it being August 28th or whatever it was, August 29th on Friday, I went with Kirby Yates over Michael Kopech. But then after seeing Yates give up a 3-run bomb, another home run, I'm like, well, you know what? Hopefully Kopech, once he comes back, he doesn't look as bad as Kirby Yates has throughout the season, and he gets that final spot. But it's just you don't know. It's the uncertainty of the way that a player is going to come back from the injured list. You mentioned Max Muncy. I love watching Max Muncy play for the Dodgers. But the last time we saw him come back from an injury, he played 2 weeks, and then he got injured again. what version of Max Muncy are we going to get? Even just being on the lineup, he helps the rest of the players in that starting lineup. But how long is he going to be available? What kind of results is he going to give you? Because we've seen it before. A player comes back late in the year, but they're not quite in rhythm. They're not fully healthy. And it ends up being more of a distraction than a solution. We're now counting the days on guys like Max Muncy and Tommy Edman coming back and hopefully performing at a playoff level immediately, something that it ain't easy to do.
No, it's not easy to do, but Muncy is one of those guys. Muncy could be 0 for 40. I'm putting him in the lineup every day. I don't care. Like he's a valuable bat in the middle there, even if he's ice cold, because the danger that he brings to the batter's box is real, and pitchers know that, and they know that they got to come in the zone. So I'm not too worried about him. I agree with you on Edman. It just hasn't been able to play enough through most of the course of the year. So him finding his groove is maybe a little bit more of a challenge. But again, he brings so many different options to the table that he brings defensively at really important parts. I mean, you're talking about right up the middle of the field. You're talking about, shortstop in a pinch. If something happened to Mookie, you can play him in second. Of course, you can play him in center field. So there's a lot going on there. As far as Yates versus Kopech, I'll take Kopech. And look, the everydayers, this, Harry, that walks drive me crazy. That walks are the one thing you can't do coming out of the bullpen. And Michael Kopech has that in him, right? He can walk some guys, and that's really scary. But what he also has is the ability to strike guys out, and Yates does not right now. Yates is running into way too many bats, way too much. And this is the same thing of Tanner Scott, by the way. Tanner Scott is pitching with two guys on base every inning, it seems like. That he comes in there, and the next thing you know, there's two guys in, and, he's pitching high leverage innings anyway. And now all of a sudden, high leverage innings plus a couple of guys on base with nobody out. It's incredibly frustrating. So give me Kopech, who's got some swing and miss in his game right now. Even though he's a little wild, even though he's been inconsistent, I at least I've seen it from him before in big moments, and I can hope to get it back out again. Haven't seen it at all with Yates this season, and Scott is still struggling big time.
And Travis, we have the answer from earlier this year of what if the Dodgers don't have two of their top starters, because they didn't only survive. I'll say they thrived without Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow. Without them, they were first place in the National League. Now we also know the answer for what if the Dodgers have nearly a third of their opening day starting lineup on the IL, like Max Muncy and Tommy Edman. That's where most of their struggles have kept happening since these guys have been out, and they're coming back soon, so hopefully that's the solution. So is it help? Is it false hope? Honestly, it might be a little bit of both. If even two of these three returnees click, that could be a huge swing for this roster. But if they're rusty or worse, if they re-aggravate something, then you're back to square one, scrambling with what you already have. So yeah, fans should be excited, but a little bit cautious as well.
I get that, and I don't disagree with you, Harry, but I do think that even Tommy Edman, who's out of sync, even a Max Muncy, who maybe isn't exactly where he's supposed to be, is infinitely better than the Buddy Kennedys, Alex Calls, Alex Freelands, like these guys, Michael Conforto, like these guys cannot be on the Call has been moderately okay in bits and pieces here and there, but even those guys struggling are better than the guys that they've been playing of late.
Yeah, they've had moments. You want a major leaguer that can give you consistency, and that in the case of a Tommy Edman, of a Max Muncy, even Hassan Kim, who's a rookie.
Yeah,
I feel we can get that from him.
He hasn't been here for a long time, but he's been playing baseball for a long time, and he's a good baseball player. He's a little overwhelmed at the plate, but again, and this is what Dave Roberts loves. This is what Andrew Friedman loves. Guys that can do a lot of different things, and Kim is a Swiss Army knife of a baseball player.
Exactly. Well, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, after playing 13 games in 13 days, the Dodgers didn't get only 1, but 2 days off in a 5-day span. That means that Dave Roberts had to shake off the rotation a bit, sending Emmet Sheehan back to the bullpen at least for this road trip. Right call or nah? Hey, Locked On Dodgers fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card from Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's the promo code SEASON. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rogers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Finally, let's talk about Emmet Sheehan. He's heading back to the bullpen, at least for now. And the timing makes sense. The Dodgers just came off a brutal stretch, 13 games in 13 days, and now they get 2 days off in a 5-day span. That's a perfect chance to reset the rotation, give some arms a breather, and stash Sheehan in the pen. Is this a right call, Travis, or will this mess up a young pitcher who is coming off of the best outing in his young career?
I do not say this to be disrespectful in any meaningful way, but his development is at the bottom of the list of things that need to get done in the next month or so as the Dodgers get ready to play in October. He's been really good for them. I'm a big fan of Emmet Sheehan. I think he's got a very bright future. Whether that's in the Dodger rotation, we'll see, because they're kind of loaded up there, but the injuries are what they are. But I think what the Dodgers do, not only do you want to make sure that your air quote, your guys, your Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Kershaw, Ohtani stay relatively on track, but it also allows you to see whether or not Emmet Sheehan can help you in the bullpen in the postseason. That it is a totally different animal pitching the first part of the game as opposed to pitching towards the back part of the game. I think Oral does a great job of explaining this on the broadcast because, not that I ever played in the big leagues or anything, but playing in college baseball for a long time, if I know I'm pitching first and I know that I'm very likely going to be out there for 4 or 5 or 6 innings, and I give up a run or 2 in 6 innings, that's a pretty good day. And you can kind of work your way into a game. It's not desperate from the moment that you put your foot on the rubber. When you come into the game in the 6th inning or later, you give up a run, feels like a failure. The margins are so much slower, and there's really no different. A run is a run is a run, but all of a sudden, if I'm trying to keep something good that has been going, the starter hands it over to you with maybe a 1 or a 2 run lead. I want to make sure I keep it there. Or maybe you're coming into the game because the game has started to spiral in a bad direction, and now I need to stop it. That's a totally different ask too. So let's see whether or not Emmet Sheehan can pitch in that environment, because they're going to need bullpen guys. We just spent last segment talking about all the different. What if all of a sudden Emmet Sheehan coming out of the bullpen is a lights out, like 7th, 8th inning guy, and all of a sudden, okay, that's a little bit less Tanner Scott, that's a little bit less Michael Kopech or whoever it may be. It's a really interesting option, and I'm not trying to thwart his development at all, Sheehan's, but what we need to see what you can do to help us right now, like this week, next week, this month, next month. We need to figure out whether or not he can swing back and forth. And it's great to have a guy like him that if something comes up, if all of a sudden a guy gets a blister or he gets hurt and you got to throw a guy in there early in the game and try to get 4 or 5 innings out of him, it would be great to have a guy like Sheehan on your roster who could do that.
Exactly. And that's something that I was going to say. It's like you're talking about the development in the future, and it's like, well, okay, that's true for right now for this season. But when you look into next year, we don't know if Clayton Kershaw is going to come back or not for the Dodgers. He would be a great option to be the 5th arm in that rotation. And right now, he just gives you flexibility. It's not a permanent move. If someone struggles or if another injury pops up, as you mentioned, Sheehan, his arm can go back into that slot, into the starter role. But at the moment, where they need him is at the bullpen without wearing down. And let's also remember his workload, because he went through Tommy John surgery last year in May 2024. He just returned in June. They have to keep an eye on his workload. He's 12 innings away from the 60 innings that he pitched as a rookie in 2023. So that's also something that you got to keep an eye on, where you have to be careful. And when you, especially in the part where you're at right now, where you have every arm in your rotation available, and I knock on wood, hopefully that's the case the rest of the year, you don't have to send him out there and have him pitch 100 innings if you don't need him to.
I would like to see him pitch in some pretty high pressure situations between now and the next time they need him to start a game. I would like him to come into the game, a run ahead, a tie game, something like that, 6th inning or later, and say, I need you to come through this inning as clean as a whistle. Can you do it? Again, I know they've got Pittsburgh. I know they've got Baltimore on this road trip. So 2 teams that aren't having a particularly great season, but Baltimore's got some guys that can swing the bat. So if we can find a way to get him in some games where, tying run is at second base and you need to get some big outs, let's see if he can do that, because you're going to need somebody to do it in about a month from now.
Yeah, and with him having pitched on Monday, he's available ASAP in this series on the road, first against the Pirates and then against the Orioles. So it's less of a demotion and more of a reminder. October baseball is all about matchups, adaptability, and if Sheehan can give you 2 or 3 high leverage innings out of the bullpen, that might actually be more valuable than him starting right now, and not just because of what he can provide to this team, but what's in front of him. Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, and Ohtani.
And I think the other thing is, can he pitch in back-to-back days? Like, that's something you have not asked him to do probably all season long, maybe, in a couple of seasons. And if he's going to be a bullpen arm for you in the postseason, there are scenarios where I'm going to need you 2 days in a row. He hasn't done that in a long time. Can he do that? Or is he kind of baked into the starting pitcher mentality where I pitch today and I don't pitch for a few days after that? Let's see if we can get him up and down, and whether he's still effective on that second day. That's something else they got to figure out.
Exactly. Well, that'll do it for today's show. From Travis and I, thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast. We'll be back on Wednesday as the Dodgers start today their last East Coast trip against the Pittsburgh Pirates team, which I was going through the stats right here, Travis. They've won 8 out of their last games. So yeah, they might look as a team with a negative record, but they've done pretty good the last couple of weeks.
Every game in September in a pennant race is a hard game, regardless of who you're playing, regardless of your opponent. And like you said, Dodgers have run into some teams that you wouldn't expect to be particularly good right now. Doesn't matter. Every win matters. Every opponent is tough. And the Pirates, I'm sure, are going to show up and compete like crazy.
And you spoke about the baseball gods earlier. I'm pretty sure every other team that doesn't spend money like the Dodgers do, they're like, yes, the baseball gods, they're talking to us when we beat the Dodgers. That's the case 100%. Of the Angels, of the Rockies, and other squads. Exactly. Well, we appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.